If our message is so good, and we're going to talk about some specific things right now, but our message is so good, both on the product and crusade side and on the opportunity side. By the way, I'm right by an Edward Jones office, so we need to go. We need to go recruit these people, right? But what I want you to understand is that the issue's never, hey, I've given 10 presentations and nobody's interested. I never hear that. I mean, I never hear that conversation. The issue is you're not doing it. If you trust what we do and you trust the message that recruited you and you sell out the activity, there's never been more receptive times. If you knew that, it's just like with fishing. And I think about fishing is boring, but if I go somewhere I know the fish are biting, I'm fired up. I'm excited. I'll get up early and go out there. Well, guess what? They're biting on all our products, on all our opportunity. And the sharper somebody is, the faster they see how good this is. So really to be get the confidence level through the roof. And no matter where I go, whether it's been in Salt Lake the last 2 days, Las Vegas, Denver, wherever I'm at, the same reception. So great things are happening in the field. And we need more urgency because people need this more than ever. And we've got some great crusading stories that we're going to go over today. So very excited for this. So let's start off today by having the great Tim O'Rourke with us. I know Tim's prepared for a great message today. And just so you'll know, Tim O'Rourke it's not that we put anybody random on, but he's definitely not random. It's not some guy we just put on, okay? Let me tell you why we have Tim on. Tim is very plugged in. He's got a lifelong career being with Raymond James before there was other things he did before he was here. He's got a great career, and he's always become very studious, understanding the markets. He's created a great relationship with Paul Dietrich, who we consider to be one of the foremost minds in this information. So he has his ear, he has a direct pipeline to him, as well as his own studies. He spends a tremendous amount of time weekly preparing for this. So I want you to understand this is good stuff, and it gives you the level of confidence for you to go out and open your mouth. So Tim, we look forward to hearing from you.
Let me unmute myself. Thanks, Jody. Appreciate that, man.
You bet.
I do talk to Paul quite a bit, but also I talk to a lot of other people in the industry. A lot of my contacts throughout the last 40 years. I've got a lot of people that I still stay in touch with who are market kind of specialists and people that watch trends and long-term trends and things that are going on, that different insights, because no one person has kind of that overall insight. But I think after 40 years of watching markets ups and downs and sideways and different trends, and we've been through some interesting cycles, and I think the cycle we're in right now is one of the greatest trends that we're ever going to see in our lifetime. When you have this artificial intelligence kind of situation where it actually is creating its own dynamic of regeneration and knowledge. Because if you think about throughout history, what attorneys, people who have knowledge, they have a valuable asset, just like we do. I mean, that's one of the things that HGI, if you think about what HGI does, we really are people that have, I mean, look at everybody on here. Look how much knowledge you've gained over the last couple years. Look at Zach and Kimberly, how much knowledge they have and how much they give you on these calls. Look how much knowledge that Jody has that he shares with you. And even James, I mean, James, I've watched you grow. And Mauricio, I've been around you, Mauricio, how many years now? I think about 7.5 years. And watching people grow in knowledge like that is really quite amazing. And people, and it's not like you're showing off with the knowledge you have, but knowledge is a powerful thing. And that's kind of what this artificial intelligence is about. If you think about it, it's unlimited knowledge. If you think about it that way, And what we have is the means to tap into all these resources like Hubert, who's 45, 46 years in this business of knowledge, Steve Gross, who has all this knowledge in investment banking, in CPA, and also on boards with high-powered companies and startups and IPOs and things like that. You're around a lot of people with extreme amount of knowledge and experience in financial services. And so as we watch this whole thing develop, and we're with a bunch of people, I was up in Canada the last couple of days meeting with our partners up there, and they have a tremendous amount of knowledge that they're helping us with, and we're really starting to cook up there. And it's so encouraging to see the amount of sharing of this knowledge that we have. And I think that that's the secret here, that we all go out. We're almost like people that want to go out, and this crusade that we're on is to share the knowledge with and to help people, help families. And so when I watch this artificial intelligence kind of virus that's going on, it's really something that is unique to watch, and it's going to go through cycles. We're going to see it right now. Obviously, we're in a tremendous growth cycle as you watch the markets on this. It's pretty phenomenal when you watch a company like NVIDIA. I mean, if you would have invested in NVIDIA about 3 or 4 years ago, you would have been up thousands of percentage points in an investment like that. And they're still leading the industry. Their technology is ahead of the hardware. I mean, just wrap your mind around that. And they're a leader in the industry still. They're able to stay ahead of the hardware. And so, and it's expanding. The companies out there that are investing, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, they're putting billions, I mean, 500, 600 billion each. We're talking $1 trillion plus going into this technology, and there's companies, and they're not getting the revenue yet to replace the amount of investments. So they're investing for the long term. And I kind of want to assimilate that same story to HCI, because that's what HCI is doing at the same time. We're investing in the long term in this company so that you have the opportunity here to really spread your wings and fly and build teams and be an entrepreneur. So if you think about that, we're the nesting ground. We're the basis of the possibility of tremendous opportunity. And that's kind of, if you look at the markets. So when I talk about the markets every week, I'm telling you a lot about insight about what's going on the employment side, on what's going on with oil and gas, all these different things that are fueling, what the Fed is doing with interest rates. These are all the different mechanisms down, kind of behind the scenes of what's fueling the economy. And then when you look at the global impact of wars and geopolitical things going on, the tariffs, it's this masterful puzzle that the more you know, the more insight you have, the greater knowledge that you have, that HGI is giving you, is such a powerful thing. So when you recruit people, I want you to understand that it's such a pleasure, such a wealth of pleasure to be here and know that you have this kind of powerful people, powerful resources, humble people. There's nobody here that's trying to use you, trying to gain anything off of you. They really are true givers. They really are true people that want to help you and help, nurture the organization, the culture along. And I can't say enough about this knowledge that we're offering, not only me, but everybody in the company, in such a humble way that, we're always have an open door, have an open phone. People want to talk and learn, and I applaud each and every one of you for being here every week, because the more you're here to listen to each other, even, hear, and people like Gail, even Gail, I appreciate your perspective on things. Sometimes I see some of your tweets and things, and sharing what you learn along your path is such a valuable thing with everybody. And I hear Mauricio talk all the time, and Mauricio, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you give back to everybody. You're a true giver, and Jody, a true team leader. I appreciate what you do. And Zach and Kimberly, same with you. You guys are awesome. You give from the heart. And so when you have people like this, Charlene, I've seen you here a long time, and you always have a positive attitude, and this positivity, you want to be around these kind of people, is I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when I talk every week, I'm giving you insight about what's going on in the markets, what's going on, in the economy. It's just my personal perspective of a lot of people I talk to, including Paul Dietrich, and and I think what we're heading into this year is, we're obviously at the top of the market here. It could continue on for some time just because of this whole AI kind of component, but we're also, there's a lot of things that are culminating at the tail end here of a very long bull market, and we're going to have a correction at some time, and that's why what we do is so important. So I'll kind of sum it up there, Jody, for you, or Zach and Kimberly. I don't know who's taking over from this point, but I just want to congratulate everybody for being part of this organization, and I hope it continues for you all. Thank you.
Thank you. What an incredible endorsement, and he made some great perspectives like he always does. But I want you to understand that he talked about the phrase investing in the long term, in the long haul, and not like necessarily 30, 40 years, but even I watch people make crazy decisions because they're behind in 1 month's pay. And they'll go sell their soul for, surviving for a month. At some point, we are the long-term mentality. One of the things I like about real estate is that realtors know when they go in there, they're there for the long haul. They know it's going to be up and down, and they don't run and jump out. They stay and try to make guys. That's the people we're looking for. We're looking for serious business-minded people who want to be here and build something for themselves for the long haul. Long haul, even if the long haul happens to be 2 to 5, 10 years. So I really like that mentality. So thank you. One of the things we're going to talk about today is just the concepts that we do, the power of the things that we do. In our meeting last night, Rafael Preciado did a great job, like he always does, and just passionately talking about what we do for families and how much it matters. There's some sexy things we do. Wills and trust are kind of cool, and they're not sexy, but they got a little pizzazz and they sound important. And living benefits we're going to talk about today, and tax-free retirement. We don't talk about insurability. At the very core of what we do, covering families. You listen to these guys like John Courier or Matt Salvatore and all, they're proud to represent companies that cover people's lives. That's what we do first and foremost. $1 trillion of business enforced by Corbridge and others, that's just craziness, okay? But insurability, getting people covered, is what we do first and foremost. It goes all the way back to the things Mauricio is putting together right now, and that is to get people covered first and then do everything else. And real quick, Darius, if you're on, I believe you're on. I know that Kathy kind of updated me on the case that you had worked on for the one lady, and I think it was just a great story. Do you mind sharing that real quick for a second?
Yes. Yes. So Miss Anita, who was on my team, she was my first client. She is 63 years old. She's also disabled. She's in a wheelchair. She's wheelchair bound. She had a stroke about 13 years ago, and she smokes. So it was been very difficult for her to be covered or get any type of insurance due to her circumstances and due to her disability. So we did her F&A, through Abacus, through F&A manager Sonia and I. We sat with her through Zoom. We did her F&A to see what we were able to do for her. We knew that we were able to at least get some type of final expense policy for her. But it was up to $15,000 for coverage, maybe around $100 a month max she could afford that she could get covered for. So we were looking into possibly seeing what else we could get. So Kathy took some time to do a little research. We wanted to be persistent. Sonia and I was like, we need to look and see what can we do, and not give up, to be persistent. So we all got on Zoom with Kathy. Kathy was able to, through Ethos, pull her information, put everything into Ethos, into the system. And it came back that she actually was qualified for up to $100,000 of term life insurance, not final expense, but term life insurance, which was a blessing. She was super, super happy about. She wound up choosing $50,000 worth of coverage. So she was able to not only be covered for term life insurance up to $100,000, but she was then able to decide what was best suitable and affordable for her and her needs. And she is so grateful to have the coverage and to be able to have a peace of mind for her family that when she passes, that she has something in place for them to be able to take care of everything and not have to worry about funeral arrangements or how they're going to take care of, you know, everything that's, they have to take care of once she passes. So it was a blessing being able to be a part of that journey and a part of the process with her. And it was just great having the support of Sonia, my team lead, and Kathy coming in to assist and bringing it full circle to get Miss Anita covered. So she is now covered with term life insurance, I believe 20 years. So she's covered up to age 80. So it's huge and very notable for her condition, her being disabled, like I said, and having a stroke over 13 years ago, and smoking and being a smoker. So that was my first client and my first team member. So that's very notable, and I feel great. It's definitely empowering for me, and being a part of this business and coming into this business to not only learn about what we do, but to be able to help somebody be able to leave a legacy, be able to be covered, especially with her specific circumstances. So yes, that is the story. Yeah, yeah. As Kathy's saying, yeah, we did cry. It was a moment. We all were moved. She was definitely grateful and moved because it really was a struggle for her to get any type of coverage. So for us to be able to do that for her was very touching for us all. It was a moment for sure. So I'm grateful to have been a
I
part of
love
that
it. Well,
that
thank you for
moment.
sharing that. We
You're
love
welcome.
that.
Thank
And then
you.
listen, that's crusade with
Yeah.
what we're about, first and foremost. You bet. Thank you. All right, Kimberly, turn it over to you for the next few minutes, and then I'll hop back on.
Okay, well, I love those stories, and I think anytime you and your clients cry tears of joy, it's a success story. And I think you all would be surprised at how often that happens, right? When you're meeting with people and you're talking with people. I think that the biggest part of I don't know the biggest part, but one of the hardest parts is just for them to say, yes, let's talk, right? Because money for most people is so emotional. And when they actually open everything up and tell you everything, it's a big peace of mind for them too. And it allows them to kind of let down their guard and say, okay, I'm going to show it all to you. Now, how do we fix it? What do we do? And I think all those stories are super powerful. And, those emotions pay more than the money ever could. So good job to all of you guys for using your tools and your resources and your upline and everything. So I think that's a great testament to who we are and what we do. So a couple of things that I want to share with you guys today. one of the things, and I'll just hit on this very quickly, but we were going to talk about living benefits because I think that's an important thing to talk about, and I think it's an important thing to understand. Life insurance is life insurance, right? If you die, there's a death benefit, and your family gets paid, or your beneficiaries, or whoever, right? Whoever you choose, they get the death benefit. But living benefits means, what if something were to happen? How do you pay for that? Can you afford a diagnosis? Is that possible, right? And with our policies, with most of our policies, maybe all of our policies, they have living benefits, and they all have their own little tweaks to them. But in general, they're living benefits that cover chronic, critical, and terminal illness, which I think is a huge thing to understand and to know. So if I have $1 million death benefit and I have a heart attack, I'm not dead, right? And maybe I'm excited that I'm not dead, but financially I'm devastated and my family's devastated. I can't work. I've got medical bills. I've got all this stuff, rehab, probably, like all these things that I have to do that I can't afford to do without affecting my retirement or my savings or all those pieces, which is why it's important to have that proper foundation in place, right? But with living benefits, you can access a portion of your death benefit to help you through that time. So I pulled up just this Corbridge QOL explanation of living benefits. And I think regardless of the different carriers and the different companies, you can see in here what living benefits will do, right? So they help cover the cost of care for chronic, critical, terminal illness. They provide peace of mind during a difficult time. They help maintain the quality of life. Accelerated death benefit riders, and this is specific to Corbridge, will accelerate up to 100% of the death benefit, up to $2 million. But not to speak specifically about Corbridge, just to talk about what is a living benefit. So a chronic illness is an illness or a physical condition that is certified in the last 12 months by a licensed healthcare provider, and it affects the insured so that he or she is unable to perform at least 2 activities of daily living without substantial assistance, or they require substantial supervision by another person to protect themselves from threats to health and safety due to severe cognitive impairment. So what is an activity of daily living? An activity of daily living is bathing, eating, dressing, toileting, transferring, right, from my bed to a chair, walking, things like that, or continence, going to the bathroom, right? So if I can't do 2 of the 6 of those, I qualify for the living benefit on my policy to access through the chronic illness portion of that rider. And that's important for us to be able to understand, and it's also important for us to articulate. If you can't do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, and that's those, you could probably, if you don't remember what they are when you're talking to a client, you just Google it, right? But that's also a very important test for like long-term care benefits and things like that. So just remember that 2 of those 6, if you can't do them, you qualify to access a portion of your life insurance, of your death benefit, to help you through that time, to help you pay someone to come in and take care of you. Critical illness is an illness or a physical condition that an insured is diagnosed by a physician within the last year of the date a claim is received, is diagnosed by, so if you get a diagnosis, you want to make it, and you want to make a claim, you got to do it within a year, right? That's important to know. They're diagnosed by a physician after the insured's coverage has been enforced for at least 30 consecutive days. That's specific to Corbridge. Some other companies have longer waiting periods, so make sure that you know that. But a 30-day waiting period is pretty great, right? And is not an occurrence of the same illness or condition that an acceleration has already been paid. So if I had a heart attack 3 years ago and I have a heart attack tomorrow, it's not going to pay again, right? Or maybe it will. Maybe it's a new heart attack. I don't know. We'd have to ask specifics for that. But qualifying critical illness is major heart attack, stroke, coronary artery bypass, invasive cancer, blood cancers, end-stage renal failure, major organ transplant, paralysis, coma, severe burn. I'm sure there are others, but those kind of give you an idea of what is a critical illness. What does that mean? And if you had any of those, you could reach out and you could access a portion of that death benefit to help you through that time. It's just important to understand what they are. And then a terminal illness is an illness or a physical condition that is certified by a physician to be reasonably expected to result in the insured's death within 24 months from the date of diagnosis. And you can accelerate that death benefit. You can take it before you pass away. So we have so many stories of living benefits in our company. You guys have heard our story about Jeannie Penland, Zach's aunt. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, had a living benefit policy, accelerated that death benefit, got that benefit because it was terminal, right? The diagnosis was terminal, got a major payout of her death benefit and lived for 6 more years. And lived a good 6 years, right? Like she definitely had breast cancer and ended up passing away from it. But she had that money where she bought another beach house. She had trips with her family. She was able to do alternative treatments because that's who she was. Everything she did, she wanted to do alternatively, right? But that money allowed her to do that because she had that living benefit rider. So I think it's important for you guys to know what that means, what that actually covers, how that works. And when you have a client that says, hey, we have living benefits on our policy, because I'll ask all the time if they have a policy that's outside of work, right? Inside of work, we're going to talk about it anyway. But if they have a policy that's outside of work, I'm going to ask, I'm going to say, okay, so you have living benefits. Yes, we have living benefits. Great. Do you mind if I read it? And I'm going to ask them to send me their policy because a lot of times they think they have living benefits, but they don't, right? Most policies all have that terminal illness rider where if you have a terminal diagnosis, you can accelerate it. I think those have been out there forever. But the critical and the chronic aren't necessarily always available and aren't necessarily always out there. So just ask to read those policies and they will let you. So just make sure that you do and do your due diligence with that. Any questions
Hey,
about those three
Kimberly,
things? Yeah.
Kimberly, one thing I was just going to say real quick is that, and you might have said this, I was semi distracted for a minute, but you used to be, if someone had them, they were riders, and now they're part and parcel of the actual, of the actual policy itself in most cases, which is very different. Make sure people understand that they don't have, it's in
It's
the
not an
premium. It's
additional
not
cost. It's
right,
included.
right.
It's all underwritten in the very beginning. Correct.
Yeah.
Gail, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to add that not all life insurance policies are created equal, even if they're with the same carrier. Like Jody was just talking about being outside an Edward Jones office. Edward Jones agents can also write Corebridge policies, but they don't include the living benefits. They are stripped down, just basic death benefit, and that's it. No State Farm policy has living benefits. And if you can't remember those, those 2 of the 6 ADLs, a lot of times you can just, when you're describing chronic illnesses, just say Alzheimer's or dementia. People understand what that is, and every family's affected by it, I think. So just wanted to add that.
One of the things I use to remember the 6 habits of daily living is DEBT, DEBT, dressing, eating, bathing, and transferring. If you can't do those, you're going to have to pay someone to do it, so you'll go into debt. And the last thing is TC, toileting and continence. If you can't do those, you've lost total control. So that's one of the things that I learned back in the day to help me remember those 6.
That's awesome, Stuart.
Yeah, I know things.
I know. I need you to put that on a little cheat sheet. We're gonna say that
That
over
was
and
good.
over.
I'll put it in our team chat or whatever.
That's
Perfect.
good.
I'd like
And
to add,
one thing, while I'm able to, be able to talk the way I want to while I'm still outside the airport, we're going to talk in a minute just about how this is the time for you to be able to tell stories. Now, listen very carefully what I'm going to tell you. If you do not tell one of our concept product stories and tell somebody about the opportunity every day, at least one a day, you're not in business. I'm going to say that again. Now, let me give you an example. There's 3 stories. One is living benefits. Just what you said. You could go out and say, please tell me you have living benefits. You've heard of living benefits, or however you want to say it. The living benefit story, tax-free retirement, and then obviously the annuity, insuring your investments if people have money in the market. Those 3 stories, you need to be able to have a way to tell those stories in 1 to 2 minutes And then you've got to be doing that every single day. And so if you're not doing that, you're not in business. So I just want to go back to those again. And if you can tell somebody, living benefit story, and you can read your market. So those 3 stories, if you go every day, and you tell that story, you're in business and you will be successful.
Hey, Jody, if towards the end, if I'm able, I think there's a tool that could be very helpful right now for this topic we're covering, but I don't want to hijack Kimberly because she's doing obviously
No,
phenomenal.
I think we got one more thing that we want to show, and then I will turn it over to you to show that.
Oh, okay. No problem. Thank you.
You bet. And it's basically the concept. This is a concept that we call equivalency. So Kimberly, you want to start that up and I'll go along with you.
Yeah, so a couple of things, and you guys have heard me say this a million times, so I'm super passionate about it, but a couple of things that I saw earlier today that I wanted to share with you. First of all, and this is from the New York Post, so maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I think it is. But it says the student loan debt will be forgiven for millions of borrowers under the new Trump admin agreement. And so it's just going through talking about, remember the Biden debt, I don't even know what the name of it was, but where they were forgiving student loan debt, right? For people that had been in income driven repayment plans and things like that. And then when Trump came in, he stopped that and he paused it for a minute. Well, they just signed yesterday, I think, an agreement that they will reinstate that program for people that have been on income driven repayment plans. And you can go read through all of this, but some of them, they will backdate it to when they should have had it if it was through the pause and things like that. But that's a big deal. I know a lot of people. I actually know several people personally who have had their student loans canceled, wiped away. One of them had, over a couple $100,000 in student loan debt and woke up and it was just gone from Credit Karma one day, like literally gone. That's a big deal. And that's an important thing just to know, could be out there. It doesn't mean everybody's going to qualify for it. Doesn't mean everybody's going to get it, but it is back in the running. So that's an important thing to know that just happened. But I saw this the other day on Facebook. I think it was just an article on Facebook, and it says Gen X is turning 60. Retirement is a worry. And this is a conversation that I have with you guys a lot, right? Like I truly, truly believe this. But these are in somebody else's words saying exactly what I say. So first of all, the first generation reliant predominantly on their 401k for retirement is starting to turn 60 this year. And most say they are not optimistic about post-work life. Those in Generation X are people born between 65 and 80, started their careers amid the swing from traditional pensions. You guys have heard this from Unqualify Me, right? To defined contribution plans. That was long before automatic enrollment that we have now and the debut of more sophisticated funds that handle asset allocation, right? Like our target date funds and things like that, that 401ks have been, bettered with, I guess. But it says nearly 70% of the people across generations say that they don't think they'll have enough savings by the time they plan to retire. According to a recent survey, I think they surveyed like 10,000 people by Transamerica Center of Retirement Studies. 70% of those people say that they won't have enough money to retire. That's our message. That's our story. That's our conversation, right? And that's what we have to go out and we have to talk about is, and I'll put this in the chat later, but people don't have enough money saved to retire. Period. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I can't make you feel better about it. I want to talk to you about it, but ultimately my job is to give you a solution, right? I can tell you, and this is let's just do the math quickly. Let's say that, I'm meeting with you today and we're talking about how much you need to retire at retirement and what is that going to look like, right? If you want $10,000 a month, if you want to retire with $10,000 a month, if I take 10,000 and I multiply it by 12, that means I have an annual income of $120,000. So what do I have to have in order to make $120,000 a year? Well, that's where the rule of 25 comes in, right? I want you guys, I know we have the calculators and they're amazing and I want you to use them, but I also want you to know if you're sitting at coffee with someone and they say, I want $10,000 a month, how do you tell them what they need? what does that number have to be? And that's where the rule of 25 comes in, right? So if I multiply that 120,000 by 25, that means they have to have $3 million in a liquid account that they can pull from using the 4% rule, right? So now if I take 4% of that 3 million, it's going to give me $120,000 a year. So they have to have $3 million sitting in this bucket to pull 4% per year so they can confidently not outlive their retirement within that 30-year period of time, because nobody wants to have to go back to work. We definitely have annuities and things like that that make that 4% rule a little higher and create pensions and all of those things. But conceptually, those are the rough numbers, right? How many people, think through your career, I've been here for 23 years, how many people have you ever sat down with that have $3 million in all of their accounts? I would tell you that I've met with thousands of people, and it's probably less than 10, because we meet with middle America, right? So if and when you read that article, they tell you 70% of the people aren't comfortable, aren't confident that they can retire, especially at the same standard of living that we have right now. What are our solutions? If you've got a couple $100,000 saved in an old 401k or in your current 401k, and you're going to get, let's say, $3,000 from Social Security, I might can create a $5,000 or $6,000 income play for you from that money, right? We have Social Security, and we'll put that 401k into an annuity and create a pension and give you that paycheck. So maybe I've covered $5,000 to $6,000 of your $10,000 need. Where are you getting the rest? You can't save it. You can't afford to save it. I meet with people every single day, and if they told me they could save $1,000 to $1,500 a month, it's still your top 10% of people. Most people can't, right? Most people can't afford to save that. They can save 200, 250, 300, 500. So that means they're not going to save their way to that $3 million. What are their options? What are their possibilities? And I think that's where you guys have to be very, very loud and very, very clear about what you have and what you have access to. Our step one in our FNA is to increase cash flow, period. That is step one. That is everybody's major problem. It isn't that they can't save what they have, it's that they don't have enough to save. They have to spend every single penny of what they're making to live. And, you know, we live in a big small town, but still a big small town. I've spoken to friends of mine recently that own small businesses, and they are starving right now. And these are restaurants and you know, cute stores that shouldn't be starving, that everybody loves them, right? They're pillars in the community. And they're scared and they're worried, and we haven't had the tariffs that have hit yet, right? That's after Thanksgiving that's going to come in. So what's going to happen? We have to start talking about our biggest product and our biggest solution, and that is our opportunity. And I tell people all the time when I meet with them, step one is increasing cash flow. Here's where you have multiple streams of income for everyone is necessary, whether you make a little bit or you make a lot. Doesn't matter. You still need multiple streams of income. Where is that money going to come from? And I tell them, go start a lawn care business. I don't care. Be an Amazon reseller. Go flip things on eBay. Do Etsy. I don't care what you do. But I know confidently that if you go out and you open your mouth about what we do and what we tell people that we do and how to help people in our world, you can make up that income gap, and you can do it probably casually, right? Fairly casually. You can go sell 3 or 4 term policies a month that everybody needs. We know that. And you could make up that income gap. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly for you guys, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So if we've got this guy that wants to make $100,000 a year or $120,000 a year, and they have confidently, let's say they've made, you know, 5,000 from their Social Security and from their 401k that we've created, right? And we've done that. How do we make up the difference? And let's say that they're beginning contract level. They don't want to go out. They don't want to build a business. They don't want to build a team. They just want to do the minimal necessary to go out and cover that income gap. Well, if I change this to monthly, and they go out and they close 1 sale a month, they're going to make $1,600, right? So if we make 2, we're now at $3,200. If we make 3, boom, we've created with 3 clients per month, which is probably 3, 4, 5, let's just say 6 hours, right? Let's just say it took 6 hours. Let's say it took 10 hours. For 10 hours a month, 3 clients a month, they've made $5,000. They have covered that income gap. Is it more realistic for them to make $5,000? Or if we take that rule of 25 again, right, and say $60,000 a year times 25, is it more realistic that they can close 3 sales a month to make that $5,000 that they need, or save $1.5 million to cover that income gap? Right? And so when we're out there talking to people and we're sharing them with what we do and we're telling them about the possibility, yes, there are 1,000 ways you can make money. It is 2025. Go get good at Canva. I'll pay you to do flyers because I hate it and I can't do it, right? Go get good at CapCut. I'll pay you to edit my videos. I don't care what you do, but I know confidently here, with very minimal effort, just with telling people the stories that they need to hear and the things that we have access to without doing comprehensive financial planning, they can cover that income gap and they can truly retire and they can live the way they want to live without having to punch a time clock anymore under anybody else's rules before they're too old to do so, right? So
Kimberly,
obviously, yeah.
no, I just was going to say, you and I talked before, guys, this is my passion. This is my wheelhouse. And then this is my go-to conversation. And I want you to specifically learn. Matter of fact, next week, we'll take 30 minutes on this because I want you to be able to talk in specifics. You can't just generally say to somebody something random. You got to understand what we're telling you. Because Mauricio's going to talk in a minute. If it goes a couple of minutes over, hang tight because we're giving you great information. Listen to what he says. But he's going to go through his technology and it's going to tell people that there's a gap. And it's a gap that's unrealistic in most cases. I don't care what somebody does, they can't make up that gap. It's not going to happen. And honestly, that's true for a lot of us. I may need to do my own numbers, to really go look at that. But if you let people know that we have a way, and you got to let them know it is the best way. It's the straightforward way. That by monetizing their life, by monetizing their network, by monetizing, the power of 5 people. I sit here on this. I said, if you got 5 people doing 2 sales a month, now this is on the team sides. Kimberly did a great job on just bringing in clients. And by the way, realistically, what they'll do is go get those clients and split them with you. That way, they don't have to do anything. So you can cut that in half. That's a great message. Go in and say, hey, for the cost of a license, go find these people, turn them over to me, and we'll split these babies, and you can go make money. Or here, you go through in a person at a part-time position has 5 people closing 2 sales a month. That's $75,000 a year. That's without any annuities. And that would be probably at least 2 annuities on there. So that means that would take them to over. I'd take them to 100,000. 5 people in your network closing 2 sales a month to get you $100,000 income. This is the greatest story, and it's the only answer. Most people aren't going to be able to do all those other things. This is the answer. I watched this. I just got back from, I'm in the Salt Lake airport, but I went up and saw the #1 guy on my prospect list, and I sat and listened to him. I went to dinner with him and his wife. The guy's a total stud. He's a fighter pilot. He's an attorney. He's just a total stud. And his wife was runner-up Miss America. And I want these guys. I've wanted them for a long time. They came from Atlanta. They moved to Park City, and he was chasing. He had a good corporate job. The time wasn't right because his wife had young babies. And I went and saw him, and they told me that I said, hey, tell me what you've been doing. He says, well, I came out here. I built real estate. I built a house. I made $1 million selling this house, but the market's dry right now. He goes, I'm struggling. He looked at me. He goes, but you're going to tell me what I need to do, right? I said, yeah. Understand this story. This is what it gives people. And if people want to create a residual retirement, write this down. Because I had Brett Kinghorn, who I've known forever, and he's like, I just want to find a way if I can get another $5,000 to $10,000 a month coming in residual, passive. And I said, he goes, what product can I sell? At first I said, go do annuities, but then I stopped. I said, no. Let's go take these 5 people here in the hall. Let's get them licensed to do a couple of sales. This is the answer for people's retirement. I'm telling you that 5 people licensed can be somebody's retirement plan. If you don't understand that, you got to get that down. So that's that powerful. So anyway, Kimberly, I didn't want to hijack it, but I'm fired up about this story.
I think it's our only story. I think it's
Yeah.
really their only real actual solution. And I think when you say it as confidently as I said it, as confidently as Jody says it, as confidently as some of you guys say it, they hear you. If you don't say it confidently and you're shy about it and you're unsure, then they hear that too, right? But ultimately our job is to give them a solution. We have solutions. I don't care if you hate life insurance. I don't care if you hate selling. Doesn't really matter to me. You'd also hate, going out and starting a lawn care business where you had to make $60,000 a year and cutting all those yards every day too, right? So who cares? Hold your nose. Go sell some life insurance policies. You're doing good for people and you're controlling your life. Do you want to say something, Jody?
Y'all, yeah, I got to say one thing. This sets right up to Mauricio. I'm going to tell you, I look at Mauricio's calculator as a recruiting tool, and so many of you guys look at it as a selling tool. To me, when it pulls up and says right there, and that's how we look at that. Now, you just got to do both. We want to maximize the money they have, but we're also going to give them hope because we sell hope. So that's my amen for that part. So we'll turn it over to you, Mauricio.
Hey, thank you. Phenomenal call as always. I'm going to dive right into it, guys. We have 9 minutes. I'll try to squeeze all that in 9 minutes, what I want to share with you. But this long-term care conversation is so important. It got me really thinking my understanding in the look-alike long-term care versus true long-term care. And we prepared some things for you. You will be able to find them in Abacus today. Let me share what those are. And I invite you to go in there and read on it because I'm certainly not going to have the opportunity to go through the whole thing. But we did something here through investigation. What is true long-term care and look-alike long-term care? It's a presentation that if you just read it, you understand. But there is this true long-term care, which is what Nationwide offers, right? It is cemented under Internal Revenue Code 7702B, which is qualified long-term care. This is true long-term care protection versus the LTC-like, which is under Code 101G. This is what, policies like North American, Midland National, Corebridge would have. And understand both of them they do different things. Ultimately, they provide money for the necessities that you want. But that not that you want, but for the necessities that you'll have if you're confined in a nursing home. That's what I meant to say. The true long-term care will require that you have a health insurance license, while the LTC-like does not require that you have a health insurance license. And so you can read them here. I mean, just come to some of it, right? Like regulatory filing of true long-term care, right? It qualifies as true long-term care. The license that's required, health and long-term care licensing. It covers both temporary and permanent conditions. The payment structure is monthly cash indemnity or expense reimbursement. That's different than when they advance accelerated portion of the money from a policy, from the death benefit. The premium, there is a additional cost for this in all these policies because they're rider. The tax treatment is 7702B, meaning, 77, we say that a whole life, cash value life insurance policies are 7702 policies, right? Because there's 7702A and then B, and they have these different A, B, C, D's, whatever, that they're different, I don't even know how to call them, just revenue codes. And primary purpose of that is provide dedicated funds to pay for long-term care. If you look at the difference over here with this other side, again, it's regulated as life insurance under the accelerated death benefit feature. You only need a life insurance license. It provides benefits under permanent conditions only. Typically, 12 months that you have to be confined in a nursing home, sometimes to qualify for this. It's a discount from the lump sum of your death benefit, and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of details that, again, we won't have the time to go through, but these will be on your PowerPoint bank so that you understand what they are. I like both of them, to be honest with you. I just need to, as an agent, need to understand the difference between the two and what one provides versus the other, right? In terms of the tax advantages, they have sort of the similar because they up to 400 and I think in 2025 it's more like 420. It's about the same. 400, yeah, $420 per day, which is like $12,000 per month. A little over 12,000, $12,775 per month that you can get in this benefit, and it qualifies under the IRS per diem limit for it to be tax free. That's why we can get these advances and these benefits from these policies, and they are tax free. But you understand where it comes from. So this presentation, I'm going to just leave it there. It's like they say, I'm going to leave it there and quietly just walk away. You can come in here, read about it. It's a nice read, and you'll get a very clear understanding. Now, on the abacus side, what we did to make your life simple, very simple. Let's say you got a client. I'm going to start here with the client. I always pick on Diego. And you want to go to the product finder hub. And the IUL finder has now been simplified because now if you're going to be doing personal planning versus business planning, you have life insurance for both. If you're focusing on businesses, you'll go this direction. If you're focusing on personal, like most of us are, you'll click on here. And then the next step, you have now true long-term care. So the way that you want to better align an IUL product with the objectives and maybe wants and needs of your clients is tell me what the primary goal is and what the secondary is. Like, let me give an example. If the primary goal is long-term care and the secondary is tax-free income, it's going to find the policies that have the chassis designed to provide this design. In other words, it'll have the best long-term care feature, the best, most competitive long-term care, and it also provides you with features that provide you tax-free income. They can build cash for tax-free income. If it's like permanent, if it's a long-term care as primary and also provide a solid life insurance, you don't really care about tax-free insurance or tax-free retirement, then you pick this as secondary. Or if it's going to be, I need long-term care, but I need early cash access, then it's going to find the policies that are best built for that. So you have a primary and secondary. In this case, let me just go with, let's say I want tax-free retirement, and I would like to, in the event of losing my mobility, have some sort of benefits that would be an acceleration of my death benefit. And that could be 2-3% in many cases per month. And there are certain limits. It picks the riders or the features that this policy should have automatically. And then you'll run it and you will see which comes up. So you have North American, probably one of the most popular out there for the LTC-like, not true long-term care, but it's more of that accelerated benefit. And then you have North American, Builder 4, and then you have Lincoln Financial, and you'd have Corebridge, right? You will have these policies, and then you can basically compare side by side in terms of where they are ranking and why do they rank there, right? And if you went back, let's just say you said, well, actually, I'd like long-term care rider and tax-free benefit to be secondary. You're going to get a whole different set of products and different rider selections by default. You still are in the driver's seat. We just help the technology identify what would be the features and riders that something like this would need to have the best build, right? So we're going to give me Nationwide now as the top because Nationwide's got true long-term care, but you need a health license to sell. Does that make sense? So you have now the top 3 that would have something called true long-term care. So this tool, obviously, it's a help. It should not ever replace your in-field trainer because, as you saw, the story with Darius and Kathy, they went out and sometimes, I would say, just being a great pilot or a great anything, you need to be out there in the battlefield, like a good surgeon, a good doctor. You need to not just rely on a machine, but you actually have to have looked at patients, and sometimes you find things that aren't going to be resolved by any machine. per se. And so you're going to need to have the experience. So the value of hitting the field with your upline is not, this will never replace that. But it's just a help. Like if you're finding yourself, well, what would be some product? This is kind of a guide of a faster guide. You can't have access to, maybe you're a trainer at that moment and you're trying to figure out what would be a direction to go. This would be a tool that can help you with that. So a combination of those two, learning the differences to the presentation of what true long-term care is and what is the LTC like, long-term care like, will help you make a better decision with your clients. And you won't find yourself sometimes writing a policy that you add a long-term care rider on, and you don't have a health insurance license, so it's not going to go anywhere. Now you can't deliver it to your client. That's one example. So that puts us right at 1. And I think I can stop here unless, Jody, you want to add anything else. But I think those two tools. The presentation you will find in the PowerPoint bank. We have 18 different presentations you can use. And of course, the identifying the product, you have to select the client and come to Product Finder Hub to find those products. Once we get this nailed down, like dialed in, I should say, we may create another route where you can just, without picking the client, if you didn't do an FNA, you can also have access to them, but you're still going to need to provide information, because needless to say, if you see when I run this, it takes all this information into consideration. Legal status, income, health, occupations, like all of these different things matter when you're aligning a product with the client. And what's coming next is being able to look at a product, and the comparison will tell you which company would give you how much based on the accidental, critical illness, chronic illness under every single one of those sicknesses. So we're building the databases so that we can update those on a weekly basis, even, or a daily basis. Just like we've done for other tools that we have here that update daily, just in case there's interest rate change or the carrier changes the benefits. You don't have to worry about it not being updated. But obviously that takes a lot, building those databases and then connecting them. Even if the carriers are jealous not providing us direct, that information is public because they have to file that information with the insurance carriers. So we still find the information. We hope that in the near future, there'll be so many dozens of thousands of people using it that the carriers are going to fight to be here and provide us direct API. So we have more live data coming to you guys every single day. But Jody, turn it back to you.
I think he's gone, maybe on a plane, but this is awesome, Mauricio,
Yeah.
and thank you obviously for all you do and putting all this together and sharing it with us every week. I think that's awesome.
My pleasure.
As well. So happy Wednesday, guys. Like Jody said, go tell stories, go talk